What's up, LTD addicts? This might just be my favorite time of the year. Christmas has already passed. All of that stress is behind. We have New Year's to look forward to. And this week, no one has any expectations for your time. So, you know what we should do? We should talk about lifetime deals, particularly award-winning lifetime deals, because AppSumo just yesterday announced the Tools of the Year for 2023. And one of those tools was chosen by you, the community. So this video is focused on celebrating the award-winning tool, NeuronWriter. That's right, you chose NeuronWriter as the best tool to hit AppSumo in 2023. So I thought I would make an introductory video to help people who maybe purchased a code but haven't taken full advantage of it yet, or maybe people who are still on the fence and not really sure whether they are technically savvy enough to get started with an SEO tool like NeuronWriter. So let's celebrate NeuronWriter. Congratulations, team, and let's get right into it. Let me show you how this amazing application actually performs. I'm going to dive right into NeuronWriter in a second, but before we do, I want to point out that there is a flash sale going on right now on AppSumo.com for the Tools of the Year. You can see that it goes from now until December 29th, where you can go ahead and grab any of the 3 Tools of the Year that the AppSumo staff chose. NeuronWriter is still in its initial run on AppSumo, so it's not subject to the 72-hour flash sale. So you can go ahead and get that anytime, I think in the next few weeks or so. I don't know exactly when it's going to go away. And a little bit later on in the video, I'm going to go back to the NeuronWriter deal page on AppSumo, break down all of the pricing plans, and make some recommendations for which plan might be right for you. But you can see you can get in the door for as low as $89, a one-time fee. And if you are an AppSumo Plus member, of course, you can knock 10% off of that. My thanks to AppSumo for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get right into NeuronWriter. All right, so here is a fresh NeuronWriter account. Let's go ahead and start to populate it. What we need to do to begin is to create a new project. And projects are basically like folders that your articles are going to live in. I recommend that most people choose a domain-related project. If you don't have a domain or you're just writing various articles for other domains, you can choose the second option here. But for most people, choosing a specific domain is going to be beneficial, and I'll explain why as we go through. I want to make this video as realistic as possible, so I'm going to choose one of my actual SEO clients and bring their data into NeuronWriter. This is Enlightened 4D Imaging. They are an elective ultrasound company based out of Minnesota. If anybody's watching this in Minnesota and they're expecting a newborn, I highly recommend going to check out Enlightened 4D Imaging. They do an amazing job. And so let's go ahead and grab their URL here. And I'm just going to paste it in where it says project domain name. All right, there we go. I'll hit next. And next I can choose my default search engine and language. It got it correct. English and United States is what I want. So I'll hit create. All right, so now a project has been created for me, and I can see that by going back to the main dashboard here, and I can see my projects, and I've got Enlightened 4D Imaging. Now, when I go into this project, I'm going to be taken to the content writer screen where I can see all of my blog posts, but I don't have any blog posts yet. So let's go ahead and change that. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour as we're setting this up and what you should be thinking about as you set it up. The actual very first thing that I would do is go up to this gear icon. I think they should just make this part of the onboarding sequence. When you go to the gear icon, you can set up some information about the domain that's important to all of the articles that you create. So the first screen is what we saw in the setup. In fact, it's exactly what we saw. But the next screen over is keywords. This is what you're trying to rank for. And keywords, the term that you'll run into in SEO, is simply related to what people are searching for. So for this particular business, I might search for things like elective ultrasound, 3D ultrasound, 4D ultrasound, and gender determination. Next, we can enter in any brand keywords. So in this case, it's going to be the name of the business, Enlightened 4D Imaging. There we go. Negative keywords are words that you do not want to rank for. So an example of this would be like animal ultrasounds. We don't really want to rank for animal ultrasounds. Or horse ultrasounds. We live in the Midwest. There's a lot of people that need to get their animals checked out. And so people are actually searching for these terms. The next option is for competitors keywords. Now, I'm going to make sure I get this right. So I just went over to Google and I searched for 3D ultrasounds near me. And I'm going to go ahead and search down here and I can see a list of all of their competitors. So thankfully they are ranking #1, but there are a few competitors here. So I've got before birth. Let me go ahead and grab this to my clipboard. I've got a little paste stack here. I use an app called Paste for that. It's available on Set App. Little Bellies is another one. We've got Miracle 3D Moments. and Peekaboo baby. That should be a good start. All right, now I'm going to enter those keywords in one at a time. So just align separation between them. And let's clean this up a little bit. I'm going to just call it Little Belly's ultrasound. All right, now that is complete. I'm going to hit update here. Now it's going to kick me out of the settings. I always like to hit update just to make sure that everything gets saved, but we're not actually done here. I'm going to go back to the settings, and we were just on competitors for the keywords, but there's actually a competitors section, which is why I left this search up here, because in this case, I want to grab their actual URLs. So once again, I'm just going to go ahead and go through these URLs and copy them to my pasteboard here. Now, if I were to just right click on these and copy the link, it's actually going to grab the Google URL before it redirects. So rather than opening these up in a new tab, I'm using another app called Text Sniper. I have a video on this, which just allows me to do some OCR on the screen, basically grabbing whatever text it sees, and then it's copying over to the paste stack over here. These are just handy little utilities. You don't need them, but if you use the computer a lot, they can end up saving you tons and tons of time. Okay, so back over in NeuronWriter, I'm just gonna go ahead and once again, one per line, paste in all of these competitors. All right, and then I'm gonna hit update just out of force of habit. I don't like clicking to another tab before I know that everything is saved. Oh, there's one setting over here under definition that I want to click. Under content scoring, I'm going to treat the title as an H1 when an H1 is not present. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now I'm going to open up the project settings one more time and head over to integrations. Now this step is completely optional, but they are using WordPress for their website. So what I'm going to do is actually connect NeuronWriter up to their WordPress website so that it can interact in a few different ways, which I'll show you as we go through. Now doing this is quite easy. We just go ahead and open up the WordPress admin area. And again, if you don't use WordPress, you can certainly just skip past this part of the video, but I'm going to go under my user account. And then scrolling down to the bottom of the user account, you'll find an area that says application passwords. And here's where you can generate specific passwords for certain applications. So I'll give this a name, NeuronWriter. Okay, so I pasted the password back into NeuronWriter. I'm not going to show you that for obvious reasons. And I went ahead and updated the settings. So now I'm done with that section. So we've pretty much covered the settings area here. There's one more integration that I want to make, which is over here with Google Search Console. Now, if you are privacy focused and you tend to avoid Google products, Google Search Console is the one product I would still recommend using. And that's because it's the only instance I can think of where Google is giving you information without requiring you to give any information back. It's basically telling you what it knows about how people are finding your website, which is very valuable info. And if you don't take it, they still have that info. You're not sharing anything with them. So that's my case against people who are ultra privacy focused. I totally can relate to that. I don't necessarily like using a lot of Google services myself, but I definitely love Google Search Console. So let's go ahead and integrate this. We simply click on the button and it's going to pop open my Google account and I can go ahead and log in. All right, I'm all done. I just had to log in, choose the correct Google Search Console account. I already had one set up for this domain, and now the data will start to come in. It can take a little time before you actually see some results inside of NeuronWriter, but it is very beneficial to have. So I recommend doing it as soon as possible. All right, now if you're working on this for a client or you have other teammates that you want to work on the project with, remember the project is just a folder that's holding all of your articles. You can go up here to team and go ahead and share access with them. As long as you have, I believe, at least a tier 3 account, you will be able to share access with unlimited teammates. But those lower tier accounts are going to be relegated to just sharing links to the actual articles, and they can't actually be involved in the creation process. All right, now we just have these 3 icons: write, plan, and manage. So in the write section, we'll actually be creating our posts. In the plan section is where we can store ideas. So you could literally go in here and say, I want to make an article about the best time to get an ultrasound. So rather than having a note on your phone, you can put everything into NeuronWriter. But if you're thinking that doesn't sound super useful, well, you're right. It's not the most useful thing, but wait till you see how you can add other ideas a little bit later on in the video. So this is incomplete. We'll be coming back here. And then under manage, this is your schedule for when the posts are actually going to come out, because we can set completion dates inside of our plan to write over here. All right, let's go ahead and begin writing an article. To do so, I'm going to click on the new query button right here. The word query in the world of SEO simply means what people are searching for. So I could type in the example I just gave. when is the best time to get a, let's say, 3D ultrasound? Now, I can hit start right over here, but there are some advanced settings if you'd like to go ahead and maybe optimize things a little bit more. If you know that your competitors have specific articles that you're trying to compete with, you can paste them in right here. And then NeuronWriter is going to give you suggestions based on those specific articles. I don't have any in mind, so I'm going to leave this field blank. If there's additional keywords that you'd like to add to the query, you can do so down here. Let's distinguish between keywords and a query. So a query is typically made up of keywords. So an example would be this 3D ultrasound. Well, another very common thing is 4D ultrasound. What is the difference? I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I do know that those two terms get used interchangeably in this particular service. And I'll also include elective ultrasound because this is not a medical procedure. It's something that people do for entertainment, really. Now, if I had a team of content writers, I could go ahead and assign this task to one of my team members. Of course, we saw how to add team members before. This is how you could choose who is actually in charge of this particular project. And then I can also choose a delivery date. I'm going to go ahead and pick, I don't know, how about the first weekend in January, let's say January 5th. And now that I'm all set, I'll hit start. Now this might take a moment because it's actually going to go and analyze this particular query and find competitive articles so that I have a good chance of outranking other articles or my competitors. You can see that it's loading over here 18%. So while I'm waiting for this to complete, it gives us a good chance to look at this view. Now, we only have one article here, but this is actually a pretty powerful screen once it gets populated with all of your different blog articles. You're going to see a ton of data. We can see the query that we just searched for. That's going to show up right here. We'll see the target URL, which we have not defined yet. I'll have to go ahead and set a target URL inside of the article. The search engine that's being analyzed, whether or not this is a difficult search, which as you can see here, it's not. A high difficulty would be 100. This is 0, so we should be able to rank for this keyword. Then we can see the analysis date, which is when the analysis on Google was done, because remember, this is going to change over time. Google is always being updated and new articles are ranking all of the time. So we might need to refresh this, which there's a way to do that right over here. And then we can see who the article was assigned to. And there's a ton of other fields available to you. Now, don't get overwhelmed here, but you can make notes about the content revision, the current score that it's received. You'll see that as we go ahead and create the article, the number of words in the article, and then any internal tags that you have. Now, the ones that are editable are right over here, right? So we can change who it's assigned to. We can add some tags in. Let's say I wanted to add the tag of I don't know, how about consolidate or update and improve? So that just gives my team some status notes about what is actually happening with the article. And if I wanted to see even more data, I can turn on other columns right up here with this little eyeball. And let's go ahead and show the volume and the cost per click. And I'll turn off some of these other fields like the content revision and the number of words. Well, actually, words is pretty important. Let's leave that on and turn off tags for now. Okay, so I just refreshed the page and you can see that there is a volume of 720 searches and the cost per click is actually $4.27, which my client is running paid traffic as well. So if we could replace some of those clicks with organic search, it would certainly save a lot of money. All right, let's go ahead and get into writing this article. So I'm going to click on the actual query right here. And the next step is to choose competitors as a reference for creating our article. Now, this is an important step because we want to choose content that is similar to what we're trying to create. So if I'm creating a review page, I'm going to look for other reviews. If I'm creating a homepage, I'm going to look for other homepages. We don't really want to mix and match because the recommendations that NeuronWriter is going to provide are based on the competitors that we select. All right, so I'm looking at these competitors and they all look fairly good. They are mostly blog posts, which is good. That's what I'm going for, except for this one at the end, which is basically telling people not to get, let me get these tooltips out of the way. They're all over the place. So they're telling people not to get 3D and 4D ultrasounds. And that's not really a battle I want to have in this particular blog post. So I'm going to turn this recommendation off and go over to next right here. All right, and we are now inside of the writer, and this is where you're going to be spending most of your time inside of NeuronWriter, actually creating content. The first thing that I recommend doing is clicking up here in the title field. This is going to go ahead and allow you to create the title and description that will show up on Google. So right now we'll have a preview down here and it's completely blank. So let me have it automatically generate a title using AI and the keywords that have been selected down here. Now, I'm not going to go with the very first title that is given. I want to tweak it so that it makes sense for the brand and also just to make sure that it's as optimized as I can get it. Right now, it is choosing a title that is 658 letters long or characters long, which is a little bit too long. You can see in the preview down here that the last few letters of experience are being cut off. So I definitely want to trim this up a little bit. The keywords that it suggests are down below. So this is going to give me some good inspiration for the words I actually want to choose. So the most important keyword is best time. So I'm definitely going to include that. And I like leading the title with best time. In fact, if I were to change this word schedule to get, I'd also include that other keyword. So now I've overlapped both of these keywords and I can get best time to get, best time, and time to get all in one shot there. And because I'm a human, not AI, I know that people aren't necessarily going for the ultimate experience. They're going for the best pictures. All right, so those two little tweaks drop my title below 600 characters, which is exactly what I want. Or I guess it's actually saying pixels there. It's obviously not 600 characters. We can go ahead and see what the title looks like down here, and it certainly looks a lot better. Nothing is being cut off. And we're gonna do the same thing with the description. I'll start with an AI description and then go ahead and modify it to fit the brand. Once again, I made some edits because I'm a human and this is basically a robot telling me what to write. And I know kind of what humans want. So instead of going with their guidelines or their suggestion, I wrote something completely different, which was to recommend how far in advance you need to book your appointment, because that's a common concern that people have. I want to make sure that I'm scheduled in time so that I don't miss out. Obviously, this is a once in a lifetime type of event. You can't really rewind the clock. So getting those things phrased just right, I think is important. And you can see that brought us under the pixel restriction as well. So I'll hit save and close. And before I do that, I want to point out, we can see a nice little visualization of what this article will look like when it's ranking on Google. All right, save and close. All right, so we've got our title right here. And then down below is the typical editor like you'd see in any word processor. Over to the right is a somewhat intimidating screen full of terms and data and numbers and what does it all mean. I'm going to help you understand this as we go, but one step at a time. We've got our title and there's this little meter up here that's saying 24. Notice that there's another number with a trophy that says 71. So this is the overall score that we have on our article. To publish, NeuronWriter is recommending that we get up to this 71. Now, how can we do that? Well, if I click right here, I'm going to see a checklist. It's going to tell me what I need to do to increase my article's competency to compete with other articles. Right now, we haven't written a single word and we're already at 24 just because we did such a good job with that meta title and meta description. This is a very important thing for Google because if you don't have a good title or a good description, no one's going to click on your article, so it doesn't matter how good the article actually is. Now, once they get to the article, if they leave right away, Google's going to know that as well. So we do want to make sure that we do a pretty good job writing some high quality information, but we're not so much worried about what Google wants. We're worried about what people who are reading our article wants. And that's something that I want you to constantly be thinking about whenever you're writing articles for SEO purposes. SEO just means you're writing for other people to read. So if the content is gibberish and not helpful to you, you can be sure that it's not helpful to your ideal customers either. So luckily, NeuronWriter provides us with enough information to know whether we're doing a good job. And then we can use our human aspects to decide whether or not the content is something that's valuable to our ideal customers. That is the key to making data-driven decisions. It's not just about clicking a single button and getting a full article written for us, although NeuronWriter can do that as well. One of the things I like to do when I'm starting a new article is to check out the competition, and NeuronWriter makes this very easy. Up in this top bar, one of three sections inside of the content editor, we've got this top bar, the editor that we've been dealing with, and then this area over here, which is essentially our data suggestions. The top bar is going to allow us to go into this analysis section where we can see what our competitors are doing and really break down what their articles look like. So I like this section over here on the competitor's structure, and I can see exactly how they're formatting their articles. And these tags right here, H1, H2, that just shows the different headings or the titles inside of their articles and how important they are. And H1 is the most important, and H2 a little bit less important as you get higher. Those are basically going to be nested inside of the main heading. I can see all of the competitors' titles and descriptions like we just spent some time working on. And I can see how many different headings they have. It looks like most of them are not using a lot of different headings. So this should be fairly easy to outrank them. We've got 2 headings, 6 headings, and 3 headings. Now, if you're wondering why I went right to H2, that's because most articles only have a single H1 heading. It's usually the title of the article. So you can see this one is not following those rules, but that might have just been because they don't know very much about SEO, and they can still rank for this particular keyword because there's just not a lot of competition for it. All right, so if we're anywhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 10 headings, we should do fairly good inside of this particular keyword. There are definitely some other sections you can dig into here to get some more information about your competitors. I'm not going to be able to go into each and every detail, or this video would be very, very long, but definitely spend some time here investigating, see what you can learn that is interesting. All right, back over in the content editor, I want to begin actually writing my article. And I like to begin writing articles with an outline. That way I know what I'm going to be writing about, and I don't have to start from a completely blank slate. So to start an outline, I've got a few options over here inside of this data area. I can click on outline, and here it's going to give me some suggestions. So these are the outlines of my competitors. So this is one of the top performing articles. I could literally just put it right in, right? So I could add that as an H1 and then add this as an H2. But now I'm essentially replicating their article. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to remove these. The best thing to do if you use this route is, of course, to edit the headlines to be more on brand for you or be in your voice, as SEO writers often talk about. So scrolling down through this, I can see all of the different top ranking articles. And this is really, really useful to make sure that you're covering the topics that other people are covering in their articles. You can't expect to outrank somebody if they just have a more thorough and more helpful article than you have. The next section over from competitors is called the smart headings. And what this is doing is it's using these terms, which we haven't really talked about yet, but this is a list of terms that NeuronWriter thinks you should be using in your article for it to perform well. So it's taking those terms and then turning them into potential headlines for you to begin writing your article. So you could very easily add these into your article by just clicking and adding them over. They're just going to add them as H2 headings, so we still don't have an H1 heading here. But remember, that's going to be the title of our article, so we don't really need to add a specific H1 heading. Another great way to add headings to your article is based on what people are actually asking on the internet. If you've used Google before, which I hope you have, you may have noticed a section that says people are also asking or people also ask. And that's exactly what this section is over on NeuronWriter. They're grabbing that specific data and bringing it right into the app so I can turn it into headings for my article. Now, these are not going to be the best headings because, as you can see, they're all kind of asking the same thing. So I'm going to delete these as well. But sometimes you can find some real gems in here to make sure, once again, that you're covering all of the important sections inside of your article. And the last option over here is the one I'm going to begin with, which is an AI outline. So I can just choose generate outline, and then I can give it some information for what I'm trying to rank for. It actually does a pretty good job of filling this in based on my initial setup. And then I can have it write for me. Now there are some additional settings here. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to GPT-4. And I'll choose the creativity to be, how about medium? I don't want this to be too creative. All right, and let's go ahead and have it write for me. There we go. We've generated the outline just fine with GPT-4, and holy cow, we have so many different headings. This looks really good. So what I would do at this step, and I'm not going to do in this video, is go through and make sure that all of the headings make sense and that they're organized in a logical manner, because this is the flow of the entire article. Now, if we were to count these, it's going to definitely be way outpacing the competition, which, as you can see, just doing this one step has brought us up to 59 out of 71. Now, that's not a guarantee. It doesn't mean that if I publish this article, I'd have a somewhat decent chance of ranking. There's nothing on this page but headings, right? But we are in the right direction. So from here, I could start to fill out the article by, writing content to go inside of each heading. And if there was something I wanted to get rid of course, I could just delete that particular heading. All right, so let's start to actually write our article. So I'm gonna go under this first heading here, which is an H1, kind of a duplicate of our title here. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, but let's work with the outline that it gave us. And under AI writing here, I'm gonna go back out because we just had to generate an outline. So it's in that outline mode still. I can go down and I can find something that says article intro. That's what I want right here. I'm gonna make sure that my mouse is in the right place because it's gonna start writing right where I have the cursor set. And I'll go ahead and click here and I can write the main keyword or title. So I'll just go ahead and grab that headline. Once again, get my cursor set back where I want it. And let's go ahead and set the number of words to be a little bit longer. Let's say a 200 word intro and hit write for me. Once again, I can choose GPT-4 for this, which is left on GPT-4 for my previous selection. All right, I'll hit write for me. And there we go. I have a nice intro to my article. Now, again, want to go through, edit this, put it in my own voice, but content has been created. If I did find something that I wanted to have regenerated with AI, I could simply select it and then choose AI writing. I could either expand, rephrase this, or show the templates to have it begin from there. Now, over on my data side, you can see that some things are updating, right? We are now up to 61. Our title is at 70%. We've used 52% of the terms that it recommends. We've got a lot of headings, and even our word count is getting pretty close to being sufficient. But as a human, I know that this article isn't even close to being done. But when it is done, it should be so far superior to my competition because it's actually of reasonable length and it's going to be of good quality. Now, audiences for an article like this are going to be expecting moms. And there's one way to really pull on their heartstrings, and that is through photos. So NeuronWriter does not let us down here. I'm going to go ahead and leave a space and let's insert an image here. I can go over to media and I could either find a YouTube video to just insert if I wanted to, but what I'm actually going to do is go over to stock images here and it pre-fills it with my title of the article, but I'll just do expecting mom and hit search. Now, NeuronWriter is not going out and searching just one stock image repository. It's actually searching 3 all at once. We've got Unsplash, Deposit Photos, and Pixabay. And I can find the perfect image that I want to include. Let's see, maybe not that one. Oh, not that one either. There we go. I think that one is super cute. This one happens to be on Pixabay, so I can click right here to open it up. And then I could download the image and insert it. However, if I limit my search to just Unsplash, they allow certain images to be brought in directly. So I can just hot link the image right here, give it some alt text, a title attribute, and go ahead and insert the image. And there we go. It's right inside of my article. Now, later on, I can actually export this directly into WordPress. Remember, I connected up my WordPress account at the beginning of the video, so I can click on these 3 dots and import and export to WordPress right here. I can also set the target URL, which I think I'm going to do for this post right now. I'm going to use the slug best time 3D 4D ultrasound, and I'm separating each word with a dash. That's a very common practice for SEO to make sure that Google can understand the title of the page. Let's go ahead and select this, and I'll go ahead and reload. Now up in my top bar, I can see those same tools we reviewed earlier, but I can also see my target URL up here. This will allow me to click this button right here to open up the Google Search Console integration with NeuronWriter. Now, I just created this page, so there's obviously no data here, but as this post actually goes live and people start to visit the page, I'll have a very nice way to view what's going on with Google and Google Search Console, find how people are actually getting to this page. If you're not familiar with Google Search Console, you're going to find information like what keywords people were using, how many impressions this particular page got in the search results, and the number of clicks that it actually received. Other valuable information is the average position on Google. You don't have to guess. Google is telling you exactly where the article shows up. All right, so this article is nowhere near complete. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the terms that NeuronWriter is suggesting we include inside of the article. The first section over here is called the basic terms, and these are going to be very vague, like short tail keywords. So what I mean by that is it says ultrasound or 4D, 3D ultrasound even, elective. These are not very descriptive words. However, if we go under extended, these are going to be longer phrases that could actually be more valuable to our business if we pick the right ones. So maybe this one right here, expect during an ultrasound. You could envision a customer wondering what to expect during an ultrasound. That would be something that's valuable to include. I can make sure to use that phrase inside of my writing. However, other recommendations might not be great fits for the article that you're writing, like this one right here, descended into your pelvis. I'm going to go ahead and click on this one, and I'll just choose to exclude it from the suggestions. Now, this does two things. One, it cleans up my user interface here, but two, it also modifies the recommendation. So no longer is NeuronWriter thinking, well, you're not listening to me. There's a recommendation over here, so you're being penalized, or your score is not as high as it could be. Now it's saying, well, these are the suggestions that are relevant to the article. All right, I just generated some more text for the second heading of this article so I could demonstrate to you another feature under terms here, which is called auto insert. And what this is going to do is look at your content and find places that it can naturally insert some of the terms that it's recommending. So I'll click on this and it's going to go ahead and read your content and then automatically insert as many terms as makes sense for the amount of content that you have. All right, I came back with a list of suggestions, so I can simply click on them. It shows me where these suggestions will take place. I can choose whether or not I want to accept it and then move on to the next one. As I do this, you can see my score is going up and up. Now, I definitely would not just blindly accept all of these like I'm doing right now, but this is a video and I'm trying to make it interesting for you on YouTube. So I'm not going to sit here and read every single one, but you definitely should because this is your content. And even if you're getting AI assistance, you should still be proud of it. All right, so our article is shaping up here. You can see our content score is now at 65 with our goal being 71, pretty close. We have the right number of words. We're at 749 words. So let's go ahead and look at some of the other features here, kind of assuming that this article was ready to be published. So over here on the top bar, we already looked at a few of these items. Of course, we're in the content editor now. We looked at the competitor analysis. The next option over is internal link suggestions. And if I click on this, it's going to go ahead and suggest some internal links to add to this article. And it lists them from my actual website that I'm working on here. I could grab these links and then insert them using the anchor words that they recommend using. Adding links to other pages on your website is a really good way to keep people on your website longer, which is a good signal to Google that your content is actually useful. The next option over is called Next Content Ideas. And what this is all about is suggesting ideas for the next article that you write. Remember earlier on in the video, I showed you there's an ideas section. Well, this is where it actually gets helpful. So I'm going to generate some new ideas here. It's just going to take a moment. And there we go. I have some new content ideas. So if I wasn't clear, what it's doing is actually taking the existing article and then spinning it off to give you other ideas for similar content. So any of these that look pretty good, like how can I make my ultrasound look better? I can simply click on this button over here to add it to my content plan. Or how about this one, compare 3D ultrasound providers? I could definitely see this fitting for this particular client because we already have some comparison pages on their website. So I'll add that to my content plan as well. Now, when I'm done with this article, I can either copy it and paste it into my actual website, or if I have the WordPress integration on, I can go ahead and use that. Of course, I could check for plagiarism. If I'm using any sort of AI, I could use one of my plagiarism credits that comes with the account. I'm not going to do that for now, but it's good to know that that's there. And then I'm going to go back out to the dashboard and just show you that those ideas that I just added inside of my project under plan. Now I've got those ideas that have just been added in. So a really great way to take your existing content and then spin it off into more and more ideas for content. So you'll essentially never run out of ideas for blog posts. Before we go, the video would not be complete without going through the AppSumo deal page to see what plans offer the best value. So I'm going to skip right to the plan details right here. And we can see right away that one code is mapped to the bronze plan, 2 codes is mapped to the silver plan, 3 to gold, 4 to platinum, and 5 to 7 to diamond. These are actual plans on the NeuronWriter website. Here's their website. Let's click on pricing, and you can see bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. So this is very important because any features that get added in the future are going to be mapped to these specific plans. So if you're the type of person like me that wants to be on the highest plan, the diamond plan, that means over on AppSumo, you're going to need to buy at least 5 codes. But there's some other important breakpoints that I want to show you. Notice that the bronze and the silver plan are going to allow you to create a decent amount of content, but only when you get to the gold plan do you get these extra features like the plagiarism checks, the Google Search Console integration, the WordPress, and I didn't mention Shopify integrations. You also get upgraded content sharing where you can use unlimited team members. So, in my opinion, the minimum you'll probably want to buy if you're using this application in any volume at all is going to be this gold plan. Now, that's not to say you can't buy a single or double or you're somehow shorting out by doing so. I understand everybody has different budgets, but the value really starts to stack when you get up to the 3 codes. Everything beyond that just tends to increase the limits. You can see the projects go up, the number of AI credits goes up. And as I move to 5 codes, this is where you'll move to their highest plan, the Diamond plan. There's no extra features right now, but if you want to be locked in for the future, that is the place to land. So a one-time purchase of $445. I will admit to spending much more than $445 on a year's subscription to a competitor not that long ago, so this seems like a very good deal to me. So that is the introduction to NeuronWriter. Once again, congratulations to NeuronWriter for winning Tool of the Year community pick. That is a huge accomplishment, and hopefully it means a great future ahead for all of you LTD purchasers. Once again, I've got a link down below. If you have any questions about SEO, NeuronWriter, anything in general, feel free to leave me a comment. I'll be reading all of them and getting back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. My name is Dave Swift. I'll see you in the next one.